Hello, my name is Carly. I'm a mixed media artist who specializes in gouache paint, ink work, and sometimes I do digital painting. In today's video, I'll be showing you how I started this amazing bat drawing that's going to turn into a ridiculous painting like these ones. And this video being the first in the bat painting series, I'll be showing you how I turned this into a painting like those other ones. Now, I have a common theme of really enjoying darker themes, but with a hilarious, wholesome twist. So, I looked at a few different photos of bats, one for the overall structure and pose of the bat, and the others for, I'm not gonna lie, just the tongue, because how often do you look and inspect a bat's tongue? Not often. Anyways, this one that I used for the basic shape, I started out in Procreate with using a reference photo window that just lets you have a little window open to have whatever photo you have in your Photos app on your iPad, and you can look at that as you draw. So I had that on the left side, that's why I started drawing on the right side, and I started by blocking out the very basic triangle shape and then a sphere for the head. Once you have the very basic shapes mapped out, it makes everything else so much easier, because then I could reference, okay, this point of the triangle is that little elbow of the bat's wing, and that's where I draw a little sphere for the little knobby knob where the wings close in. I don't know what that joint is called. I don't know bat anatomy. This is a video that's teaching me bat anatomy, alright? Anyway, so I had that rough sketch out, and what I like to do is I like to make a new layer, and the rough sketch, I put that on a lower opacity, and then on the new layer at full opacity, I make more of a clean sketch over that lower opacity layer. This just makes everything a lot more tidy, and I think that when you draw out all the basic shapes, sometimes all those fine lines trying to get the structure down, sometimes I find it distracting, especially if I plan on transferring this onto illustration board, which means I have to essentially trace my own sketch. I want something that's a lot more clean and easier to see. I also included a third eye on the bat because in this whole series, all of them have third eyes. It's kind of the whole premise of the whole series. And I made sure to make the third eye match the actual bat eyes a bit. I do think I'm going to change the color and make it look a little bit more human-ish, I guess, but I still am keeping most of the bat's likeness in the third eye. I love the tongue, I think it gives it so much character, but I did overthink it, and really I just had to do a tiny little triangle and made it flare out a little bit. I tried not to focus too hard on it. Sometimes little details like that I get too fixated on. And for the fur, all I did to outline it, I didn't do a line. All I did was a bunch of vertical dashed lines across the edges of the fur, and I just kept it like that to indicate that those are going to be thinner lines and not a harsh line. Alright, so then I drew a very, very rough circle, half circle, and this is going to be the overall composition. I want it to be a curved branch over, and then I want some mushrooms framing the bat, because the bat will be hanging from this curved branch, and I want ink cap mushrooms growing on the sides. So I just have the rough outline of the mushrooms, and right now I'm going in with a little bit more detailed rough outline of the branch slash tree curving over and encompassing the whole portrait. I love including some sort of framing in my pieces because I usually end up drawing that part with ballpoint ink, and it just makes the gouache painting pop out so much more. For references on this tree branch situation, I literally Google searched gnarly branches. And the word gnarly gives you exactly what you want. Just a lot of twisting branches going in different directions, and it looks very Tim Burton-esque. That's exactly what I was going for. And when I do this, I intentionally make sure to add more knobbiness around the areas where it needs to curve back into a circular motion, almost as if there's a circle going over the whole drawing, and making that into something like a hexagon or octagon. And around every corner is roughly where I would add another twist and turn or bulky knob situation on the branch. And that's where it would curve back into the circular formation. This just gives an overall balanced and even composition to this branchy frame. To add some more detail and visual interest, I added a bunch of wispy, tiny branches, where the ones at the bottom I included loose roots, kind of like the tree was rooted from the ground, and I also included one that's arching up above, and on both of those areas, I hid eyeballs in them. And the branches up top, I put spider webs in between, and where that eye shape is hidden on top, I'm gonna make that as if there's a spider web inside that little branchy shape that's making the illusion of an eye there. And for the eyeball at the bottom, I'm doing the same thing, except I'm using some of the loose root strings to give the illusion that there's an eyeball there as well. I love eyeballs, first of all, but I also love hiding little details like that in all of my pieces. So right now, after I got all of the main components of this drawing complete, I just did another layer again, and like I did previously with the bat, I lowered the opacity of all the sketches, and I'm making a more refined outline on the new layer. For the mushrooms, I made them ink cap mushrooms. If you don't know what ink cap mushrooms are, they're basically the goth queens of mushrooms. Yeah, I just thought they would work well with bats. I also added another little branch detail on the right of the tree thing. On my gouache pieces, I like there being a transitional element where the gouache meets the ink work, something that has ink and gouache to kind of fuse the two mediums together. And in recent paintings I've done, I usually use insects or other small little animals that could be reminiscent of the fae, like bumblebees and things like that. I usually use those as those transitional elements. I wasn't quite sure what to do here. I did try out some fall leaves, but they just weren't, it was not giving, okay? So I decided, hey, I'm going to draw a stink bug because I've been seeing them a lot around my house during the fall. And I'm also going to do a moth because I've been seeing moths everywhere. Of course, I added a spider. That's kind of my thing. I added two of them, especially during this time of year. I love seeing them. They're always guarding my door. I just love spiders. Alright, well, I know this was more of a talking through while I draw situation instead of a full-on tutorial, so I hope this was at least helpful in some way and that I gave insight through my process and that it helped someone else out there. Anyways, I will see you next week. Bye!